Okay, welcome to Leading Her Way, the business program that lets us behind the scenes of amazing women. I am talking today to Esther Schultz, author of three fiction books, and I'm going to let Esther introduce herself and tell us about her work. Hello,
Sure.
Esther.
Hi. Thanks for having me. So I am Esther Schultz. I'm an author, mentor, speaker, and I have been um, doing this for a couple of years now. I write articles for magazines and write books, and I try to write every day. So that's a huge part of who I am. But I also have this side of me that wants to give back and inspire other women and empower other women. So I live in Minnesota. I have 4 children, and I'm married to a great guy who is very supportive of my work. So,
I love that you put the people in your life not necessarily last, but at the end of your introduction. Because what I find with so many women is that when we introduce ourselves by our roles to other people. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and then we go into the things that we like. And I help women figure out how to introduce themselves in their own way. Sorry about that. So, So the roles to other people are things that women typically want to talk about. And I love that you didn't start there. So congratulations on that.
thank you.
But tell us about what inspired you to start writing and kind of the driving force behind it. Because one of the things that we do here is we don't want to just see your business or your project. We want to see the you behind it and why it helps. So tell us about that part.
So, one of the questions I do get a lot when I talk to other people about my writing career is how long you've been writing. And the answer to that question is I've been writing my whole life. So it's always been a part of who I am. It's always been something that I have always done, whether it's for fun or I used to write these sonnets when I was a kid about um, traveling through a dark wood and coming out through this jungle of hardship on the other side and finding the light. And I used to write that as a kid. And so um, I think that is a big part of my answer is because I've been through those dark roads and I really want to use my writing as a way to help other people, whether that be providing a moment of joy or escape from the crazy and chaos of life when they're reading my fiction work, or whether it be through providing hope or empowerment through a post on Facebook or a blog post, or currently working on a nonfiction piece where I'm telling my story with the hopes that it'll give back and help other people. So, a driving force of why I do what I do is because I really want to tell stories that can help other people. So,
I love that you talked about going through, you almost described it like going through the struggle. And the fact that you did that as a child, like wrote about that,
yeah,
because I'm a firm believer that once we start to open our minds and our creativity a little bit, we can look back through our life and see the breadcrumbs that were left for us about our gifts all the way back to the beginning.
yeah,
And I think when we're stuck and don't know where we are in that process,
yeah,
we don't see any of that. But it's
yeah.
like this veil is lifted. So that's awesome. So what specific problem or challenge were you trying to solve? Are you trying to solve with writing, speaking, mental health advocate or advocating? Tell us about that piece.
So, I know what it's like to live in a place where you feel completely lost and hopeless, and having depression and anxiety. Um, I've had it for a long time, since I was a kid. And, but I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know why I was the way I was and why I was struggling so much. And there's a lot of reasons why I struggle with depression and anxiety, too much to share here, but I have learned how to harness it, if you will,
Mm.
in a way that it no longer defines or controls my everyday life. And that's not to say that I don't still have moments or even days or even weeks where I am struggling to combat against it, but I have learned how to live with it. I've gathered tools to help me, and I know that we can live with our mental health struggles in a way that it doesn't define us and control how we live. I believe that we can learn how to live a wholehearted, amazing, joy-filled life, even though I have depression, anxiety. And so I want to be able to help other people see that, because I see so much pain in the world today. And I know that um, I know what that feels like. And I want to be able to give back and help other people learn their tools and learn their strengths when they're having those struggles that will help them through those times. So that is a huge reason why I do what I do. So,
So people watching may not know that I've known you for a while. Um,
yes.
I've watched your growth. And one of the things that I love most about you, and I want the audience to hear this too, is that when I first met you, you did see depression and anxiety as an identifier of who you are. And as you've grown and as you've accomplished the things that you wanted to accomplish in your heart, you have been Esther Schultz, who also happens to have moments of anxiety and bouts of depression, but you are not depression and anxiety Esther Schultz. In the same way that we talked in the beginning about your roles to other people. And it doesn't mean you don't love your husband and kids more than anything in the whole world. It just means that you're able to identify yourself as Esther. And I love that so much. It is so cool to see. Okay, last question.
Yes.
Give us a defining moment or experience in your life. I call them aha moments. Those are the moments where you just know. So give us one of those that told you, I have to pursue this idea of both writing books and being an advocate for people who struggle with anxiety and depression.
Um, when my oldest daughter, she's 20, she's a junior in college now, but when she was a sophomore in high school, there was a kid, a peer, one of her friends in class had taken his life. Um, and the impact that had on not just the whole community, but and my daughter, but on me as well was huge. And I knew then that I had to do something. I knew the pain that that child felt. I knew that he just wanted it to end, because I'd been there. I've been there. And I am still here. And because I'm still here, I want to share my story and share, even in my fiction writing, I try to share parts of me and my story in sometimes little sprinkles, but I still try to give that hope and that empowerment that, yes, the pain is excruciating and we want it to end, but you're not alone. And so that was a huge moment for me. And it wasn't long after that, I couldn't get it out of my head. I remember going to the funeral and I just sobbed all the way through. Um, and it wasn't long after that, I was standing in my closet and I was getting dressed for the day and I started shaking and crying because I had this vision of myself standing on a stage surrounded by people who had similar journeys as me, surrounded by women who had been on similar journeys as me. And my story had made a difference in their life. And so I knew then that I had to do this. There was no going back. I had to do this. And I told my husband about it not long after that, because I said, this is what I have to do. This is why, even if it's not why all the things that have happened to me in my life happen, I am going to use what has happened to me for a force of change and good and light for women and other people in the world.
Wow, what a powerful story. And what I found is that a lot of times we're not just starting businesses, we're not just writing books, we're doing this because of something that happened in our life that was what I call the whisper that says, you have to do this. This is who you are. This is why you're here. And so many times we push that down.
Yeah,
So this is one extra question before we get to the fun question that I wanted to ask
sure.
everyone at the end. But what what was it easy? This whole process, like going from that moment of I knew I know I have to do this to where you are right now, 3 books later, and starting to speak and starting to have impact in people in your community. Tell us just a little bit about the process of that and what it looks like.
So, no, it has not been easy. Um, it's been a lot of personal development, personal growth in my own life and heart, knowing that I needed to heal some of those parts of myself before I could share my story in a place of hope and not this a place of vengeance or but a place of hope and peace, so that that's the message that people see. Um, and honestly, when I was standing there, I knew it was almost like that vision, right, that I had, but I had no idea.
Right.
I had no idea how I was going to get there. I I had no idea what to even do to start. And so I started writing blog posts.
Mm.
That was the first thing I did, was I started writing blog posts. And I remember I told my husband, I think I'm just going to write a blog posts and just, let's just do that. And I created this website for my blog posts and all these things and a Facebook page. But then I didn't write the dang blog post. I was terrified because it's vulnerable work. It is. The work that I do is vulnerable work. The stories that I tell is a part of me that I'm sharing with the world. And I feel like I am on this stage of judgment and speculation. And I want people to see the good and not get distracted by things that they shouldn't be distracted by. And I know that there's going to be people that don't like my work, but I really want it to be a force of change and a force of light. And so I was terrified about writing that first post. And looking back at it, it still exists. It's on my website now. I closed that original website, but I transferred all those original blog posts. It's so full of mistakes, but it's a powerful message. And that's what I hope people see in it. And so I've done a lot of work in my own craft and trying to figure out which direction I was going to go. And publishing traditional versus independent was a hard choice. And then trying to figure that out and trying to know what to do and how to do it in a professional way so that it's professional work. And because I want my work to be quality and I want my work to be something that people want to see so that it can help them. And so it's been a lot of trial and error, a lot of putting myself out there, which is scary. And just doing the work day to day and just staying with it and figuring out which path is the best path is one of the hardest things I've done. But what I've learned though is there is no wrong path or right path. There's just a choice you make, and you either learn from that choice or it propels you forward in a way you could never imagine. And so everything that I've done from that moment in my closet to now is huge. Like the transformation, the growth is huge. And I know that I still have a long way to go to fulfill the dreams that I have, or to fulfill all the dreams that I have. But it's just sticking with it day by day and not giving up on myself. And when I do get discouraged, finding those resources and those things and those tools that I have in my life that keep me going. So.
Wow. I love that. And if I can just give both you and people who are watching one little tip about that, that I know what it's like to get the website all set up and get the Facebook page and all of the social media and then skip the most important part, which is actually writing the blog or writing the content that helps them. Because we do get, oh, nobody wants to read this, nobody cares. And if you can focus every time you get that way, because when you're in business, you know this, it happens sometimes daily. There's something that stops you. But if you can focus on that first thing, that defining moment that you talked about, where the classmate of your daughter's took his life, if you can focus on somebody that's near that space and you writing that blog changes that, that's what keeps you going. That's what pushes you beyond worrying about what are people going to say, because you would have done anything to stop that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the piece that we always need to remember. And that's the one that most of us forget. And one more thing, you made a comment about, I had no idea how I was going to do it. I just knew I needed to do it. And that is the big thing for all of us, is that we move past the idea and then we start focusing on the how, and the how is what slows us down. And if we can keep momentum with our reason for starting to begin with, that's what makes us successful. And successful means whatever we decide that it means,
Yeah.
in our own way. Awesome. I love this so much. So one last question. This is the fun question.
Sure.
If you had to describe your leadership style, because every woman who's in any kind of business, whether it's writing a book, being a coach, whatever it is, you are a leader. So if you had to describe your leadership style in a food, what would that be?
I'd have to go with vegetables, because vegetables are always there. They're either a part of the main dish or they're the side dish, but they're always there, either being the cheerleader or getting into the meat of it all. doing the work alongside. And they have a strength and fortitude that nourishes our body. And as a leader, I believe I'm someone who nourishes other people by what I'm doing. And so, yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Esther, for being here. One last thing, tell people who are watching how they can find you, how they can find your books,
Sure.
social media handles, any of that.
Okay, so they can find me on social media on Facebook or Instagram, Esther Schultz /author. And then on Instagram, I'm Esther_Schultz_author. Or if you want to just go to my website, you can find links to follow me on either one of those. And it's www.Esther, ESTHER, Schultz, SCHULTZ.com. So it's theestherschultz.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I've read your books, they're amazing. And I
Thank you.
hope that if you're watching, you'll do the same.
All right.
All
Thank you
right,
for
that's
having
all we
me.
have for leading your way for today. And remember, go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you'll be able to see further. All right. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you next time.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.